What if a simple request for water could reveal the deepest scars of a forgotten hero? What if the world passed by, blind to his pain, until one small voice chose to listen? This is the story of a homeless veteran, tired, hungry, and invisible, and the little boy who saw what no one else did. Their encounter will remind you that kindness can heal wounds no one sees. The sun beat down on the crowded city street, where cars rushed past and people hurried along the sidewalks. In the corner, near a crumbling brick wall, sat a man who seemed invisible to the world. His clothes were worn, his shoes falling apart, and his eyes told stories of battles no one around him could imagine. His name was James. Years ago, he had been a soldier, standing tall in uniform, serving his country with pride. But life after the war had not been kind to him. The transition back to normal life had been harder than he could bear. Nightmares haunted his sleep, and loneliness became his closest companion. With no family to lean on, he eventually lost everything: his home, his friends, and even his sense of belonging. Now James lived on the streets, carrying nothing but a worn backpack and memories that weighed heavier than any pack he had carried in combat. People passed by every day, glancing quickly before turning away. To them, he was just another homeless man. But inside, James was still a human being who once had dreams, a man who once laughed freely, a soldier who once risked his life for strangers who never knew his name. That afternoon, the heat was unbearable. His throat burned with thirst, and his lips were cracked. James whispered to himself, "If only I could have a little water." He didn't ask for much, just a sip, something to ease the dryness in his mouth. He tried asking a passerby, "Excuse me, sir, do you have some water?" But the man looked away, pretending not to hear. Another woman walked past, clutching her purse tightly as if his words were a threat. Each rejection cut deeper than the thirst. Sitting there, James lowered his head, his voice trembling as he murmured, "Maybe I really am invisible." The longer James sat there, the heavier the weight of the world pressed on his shoulders. Memories of his time in service flashed before his eyes, marching in the desert heat, hearing his comrades' voices, standing tall with pride. Back then, people respected him. Back then, strangers would salute him. Now, no one even looked at him. His stomach ached with hunger, but the thirst was worse. Every time he asked for help, he was met with silence, stares, or quick footsteps moving away. He watched as people bought cold drinks from the shop nearby, sipping them casually in front of him. Not a single person thought to offer him a drop. The city was full of life, but James felt dead inside. The world around him sparkled with advertisements, laughter, and busy chatter. Yet none of it included him. He was stuck in a bubble of loneliness. The rejection stung more than the thirst itself. "Why won't anyone see me?" he thought. "I fought for them. I would have given my life for them. And now, I can't even get a cup of water." His eyes welled with tears, but he quickly brushed them away, not wanting anyone to see his weakness. Still, deep down, he felt himself breaking. The strength he once carried as a soldier had faded into despair. At that moment, a group of teenagers passed by. One of them laughed and pointed at James. "Look, another bum asking for handouts." They all laughed together and walked off, their mocking voices echoing in his ears. James lowered his head further, his heart sinking. He thought about giving up. He thought about closing his eyes and never opening them again. What was the point of living in a world where no one cared? The day dragged on, the heat becoming unbearable. James leaned against the wall, weaker by the minute. He whispered, almost to himself, "Maybe this is how it ends, thirsty, forgotten, and alone." Just as James was about to close his eyes, he felt a gentle tug on his sleeve. Surprised, he looked up and saw a small boy standing in front of him. The boy couldn't have been older than 10. His big brown eyes looked at James not with fear or judgment, but with concern. Mister, the boy said softly, you look really thirsty. Do you want some water? James blinked, unsure if he had heard right. The boy held out a cold bottle of water, condensation dripping down the sides. It was brand new, unopened. His hands trembled as he reached out. For me? He whispered. The boy nodded. Yes. My mom says we should always help people when we can. You look like you need this more than me. Tears filled James's eyes as he accepted the bottle. His throat tightened with emotion before he even opened it. Slowly, he twisted the cap and took a long sip. The cool water slid down his throat, soothing the burn. But more than that, it was the kindness behind it that healed him. James looked at the boy, his vision blurry with tears. Thank you. Thank you, son. You don't know what this means. The boy smiled, and his mother, who had been standing nearby, stepped forward. She gave James a gentle smile and said, You've served our country, haven't you? She had noticed the faded military patch on his backpack. James nodded, lowering his head in shame. I used to. But now, I'm nothing. The woman shook her head. No, sir. You are not nothing. You are someone who gave so much. And today, you reminded my son what true gratitude means. James couldn't hold back his tears any longer. For the first time in years, he felt seen, not as a burden, not as a problem, but as a person worthy of kindness. The boy's small act had given him more than water. It gave him hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, the world still had room for compassion. That night, James didn't feel invisible. He felt remembered. Sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest weight. A sip of water may seem ordinary, but to someone in need, it is life itself. The boy's kindness didn't just quench a thirst, it healed a broken heart. When the world ignores someone, one act of compassion can make them feel human again. So never underestimate the power of kindness. You never know whose life it might save.